Hey guys, welcome back to MATHit School. For today's video, I'm going to show you how to simplify radical expressions that look like this using my very special tip that's going to make things so much easier. Now, so for those of you who already know how to simplify an expression that looks like this, then go ahead, pause this video, simplify it yourself, and post your final answers in the comment section down below. Now, I'm going to reveal the tip as well as the correct way of solving this and the final answer in just minutes, so you can check whether you got this question right or not. Now, if you got this correct, that's great, but even if you didn't, do not worry because I'm going to show you the easiest way to simplify an expression that looks like this. And that tip is, whenever you have a radical expression that looks like this, think of it as raising this number underneath the radical sign to the power of 1/2. And if you already have a power in it, take that power and then divide it into 2. Now, it works for both even and odd numbers, and the best way to learn this trick is with real-life problems. So let's go ahead and practice with several problems first before we tackle our original problem that I just showed you. So, if I have x squared and square root around it, what I do is take that x squared and then divide it into half, because this square root sign is equal to power of 1/2. So it's the same thing as x square root of 2 over 2, which is equal to x raised to the power of 1, or just x. How about the second one? If I have square root of x raised to the power of 6, it's the same thing as x square root of 6 over 2, or x cubed. That's very simple, right? So let's move on to next problem. If I square root x raised to the power of 5, that's the same thing as x to the power of 5 over 2. And this gets a little tricky because 5 over 2 is not evenly divided, but no worries, because we are going to express it in terms of decimals. So it's the same thing as x raised to the power of 2.5, and that's the same thing as x raised to the power of 2 times x raised to the power of 0.5, or which is equal to 1/2. So it's the same thing as x squared times x raised to the power of 1/2, or square root of x. So the final answer will be x squared square root of x. Now that one was tricky because our number was an odd number, but in that case, just express that number in terms of a decimal number divided into the integer and the 1/2, and turn the x raised to the power of 1/2 back into square root of x, and the problem is solved. Now we have another odd number power here, so let's check if we got this concept right. So I'll have x raised to the power of 11 over 2, which will in turn give me x raised to the power of 5.5, which is equal to x raised to the power of 5 times x raised to the power of 1/2, and that is equal to what? X raised to the power of 5 times square root of x, and that'll be our final answer. Now, finally, we have x raised to the power of 1, or just x, and that's easy. X raised to the power of 1 over 2 will be our problem, and that simply is equal to square root of x. Alright, since we have gone over these simple practice problems, let's go back to our original problem, which seemed a bit more complicated, but no worries, we'll do fine. So the expression underneath the square root sign is threefold, because we have integer term, which is 40. We have x term and y term. So let's think of it as three separate expressions. So let's go ahead and prime factorize a number 40 by building a factorization tree. 40 is equal to 4 times 10. 4 is equal to 2 times 2. And since 2's are prime numbers, I'm going to circle. 10 is composed of 2 times 5, so I'm going to circle both numbers since both 2 and 5 are prime numbers. So 40 can be expressed as 2 cubed, 3 2's, times 5. So let's rewrite the whole thing with our new numbers. 3 square root of 2 cubed times 5 times x 4 times y. Now that's going to be our new expression to work with. And from this expression, I'm going to try to get rid of this square root sign by turning it into power of 1/2. So if I do that, I'm left with 3, and then I'm going to put giant parentheses there. 2 cubed, 5, x 4, and y. And then I'm going to put all those 4 numbers and raise them to the power of 1/2. And the next step is to distribute that power of 1/2 to all the numbers that are within this parenthesis and rewrite the whole thing. Then I'll have 3 parenthesis, 2, 3 over 2, 5, 1 over 2, x 4 over 2, y 1 over 2. Now we're almost done. Let's go ahead and simplify. I have 2, 1.5, 5, 1/2, x 2, and y 1/2. Now, these two numbers with powers of 1/2 will turn back into square root numbers. Oh yeah, that's right. Those will turn back into square roots, and this number will be equal to 2 times 2 raised to the power of 1/2, which is equal to square root of 2. And x squared will remain as x squared. Now let's go ahead and simplify the whole thing. I have 3, and then 2 square root of 2 times square root of 5 times x squared times square root of y. So let's combine all the numbers within the square root, and those are 2, 5, and y. So that'll give me square root of 10y. So those numbers will go underneath the square root sign, and these 3 numbers will come out front. But I will have 2x squared multiplied by 3, so the number in front will be equal to 6x squared. So 6x squared times square root of 10y will be our final answer for this question. So I hope this video helped, and if it did, please go ahead and like this video and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this.